So welcome back to the big one. President John Dramani Mahama has painted a brighter picture of the economy for 2016 fiscal year. The president said key sacrifices have been made, including strict fiscal discipline, which have medium to long-term prospects for the economy. The president was delivering the State of the Nation in Parliament.
This address happens to be the last in the first term of President Mahama. Very typical of him in recent times, he adorned locally made smock, popularly called batakari, arriving few minutes after 10 Thursday morning. In a statement that lasted a little over 3 hours, the president touched on various sectors of the economy. Key in his presentation was plans to ensure government does not overspend this election year.
I have assured the nation and our partners that my administration will exercise strict fiscal discipline even in this election year. As president, I swore an oath to act in the best interest of our nation. Acting in a nation's best interest is not synonymous with taking only decisions that make one popular. And I wish to take the opportunity to thank the good people of Ghana for your understanding and patience during these challenging times that we have endured together.
He had some good news on the power sector, which had been a huge challenge for years.
A year ago, I stood before this very august house and promised to fix the power sector deficit that at the time had become a significant constraint to the economic growth and had become a major disruption of the lives of Ghanaians, both at home and at work. I took full responsibility as Commander-in-Chief. It has not been easy. Mr. Speaker, it has been a year of hard work that has made us achieve the fastest mobilization of emergency power in the history of Ghana.
On health and education, the president enumerated a number of achievements and a year of review.
Ghana has been commended by the United Nations for meeting the targets of the Millennium Development Goals of achieving universal primary education with gender parity. In June 2015, I launched the National Free Sandals Program, which saw the start of the distribution of 10,000 Kumasi shoe factory made in Ghana to school children in need across the nation. The provision of teaching and learning materials program has also seen the distribution of teaching and learning materials to 10,924 basic schools. In addition, 30,000 teachers were trained in ICT under the Basic School Computerization Program, bringing the total number of teachers trained under the program to 50,000.
He also touched on a number of infrastructural projects before wrapping up with corruption and governance.
Corruption has serious implications for any society's advancement, and for that reason, the push against the canker cannot and must not be ceded to those whose only motivation is electoral advantage.
The address was based on the NDC's pillars of changing lives, transforming lives.
Now, on the economy, President Mahama said his administration will exercise strict fiscal discipline this year to transform Ghana. He said Ghana's budget deficit projection for 2016 has been pegged at 5.3%. And touching on the microfinance challenges facing the country at the moment, President Mahama stated that the lack of effective supervision on the part of the central bank has resulted in many cases in which many microfinance companies licensed by the Bank of Ghana have breached the rules of procedure, one of such cases being DKM. He also appealed to Parliament to expedite action on the Ghana Deposits Protection Bill, which will protect funds by small depositors in the future. President Mahama also said that government is moving to cut down on unprocessed gold export to add value to the commodity before it is exported. He stated that the move is part of diversifying the economy to add value to the country's major export commodities, which have seen a dip in world prices. Let's get onto the telephone lines now, and we are joined by financial analyst Kamal Dean Mohammed for some analysis on this. Good evening, sir, and thanks for joining us.
Good evening, Steven.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing well.
Great. Now, the president overall outlook of the economy appears to look bright. Is that how you see it?
Good evening to your listeners once more. Yes, looking at 2015, we had a bit of challenges, and we were able to have some policies that were able to realign some parts of the economy, although we still had a very big deficit that we saw to be too much. Looking at the policies, if they are continuous to the future, and politics is not tempting these policies, then we believe that the future will be looking a bit brighter.
And so let's look at the election year. Election years have been characterized by overspending. The president himself raised that concern. So do you feel that we have what appears to be a stable economy enough against the backdrop of the fact that our currency has been falling and our debt to GDP ratio has been at the highest in the history of this country? Do you feel that the president can actually, with his government, keep spending limits within the budget constraints or restraints to ensure that we do not overspend in an election year?
Yeah. Looking at the performance of the last two quarters of 2015, you could infer that there were strong indications that the government in power was actually moving towards that physical discipline, trying to tighten up all the loose ends within the economy. And if these policies are actually continued, then we can say that yes, we might be able to continue with that. It is actually not too true that within an election year, you would stay 100% within your discipline. It is quite a difficult thing to do. Looking at the history of Ghana, right from 2000, we also what happened 24, 28, 2012. It has always been characterized by heavy spending. But one thing I use to console myself is the IMF monitoring. We are involved within an IMF program now, and if that monitoring is strengthened and government is put on its toes to stay within, I think that this year can be something better for us. And again, if you look at the currency fluctuations, that is why the government is thinking about these value added. And these are the policies that would tend to strengthen the CD against the major foreign currencies. If you look at the gold, the further processing of this gold, adding value to it, means that we're going to have more of the hard currencies coming in. We have policies to do with the cocoa sector, the coffee sector, and if these things are actually followed very well, we are believing that that will again inject some amount of money in terms of foreign currency into the system that can stabilize the currency. And if that is stabilized, then we can say that 2016 could be better. I don't foresee a total.
Right. Mr. Kamal Dean, before I let you go, let's look at the president pegging deficit, the budget deficit, pegging it at 5.3% for 2016. Is this something that is realistic?
That's a very difficult question to answer for now. It is something that we are aiming to achieve. Looking at the election year and wherever we are coming from, yes, it's attainable, but it's going to be very, very difficult to attain that.
So let's also look at the. He did mention that we're going to put the export protection bill something before Parliament. When we look at this in terms of how our economy has been performing, we all know that we have become mainly import dependent. So will this bill make any difference?
How? That's kind of an interesting question. Yes. It will quite facilitate, quite give some incentives to exports, try to encourage more and more of further processing of our inputs. Instead of take our raw gold, send it out, further process and bring it back to Soto. We do the further processing in Ghana. Instead of take our cocoa out, do the further processing, take our share out, do the further processing. I think we would have that opportunity of doing it in Ghana, and that can save us a lot.
Right.
If you look at that policy, we believe in that it might give more of incentives to export. And if it encourages more to export, maybe people are going to be enticed by those incentives and move to that sector. And if that sector is strengthened, the balance of payments issues can also be corrected.
Right. So finally, the microfinance issue has been with us for some time, with the DKM saga coming up constantly. Finance Minister has said that DKM diverted over 77 million into other of its subsidiaries. Now, the President in the State of Nations address appeared to be shifting the blame on the back of Ghana and saying that the Ghana Deposits Protection Bill, it's what it's seeking to address address this problem and protect the interests of small depositors. So when we look at this DKM problem and the microfinance in general, do you think that this is what we need in order to streamline the operations of the microfinance industry, a depositors protection bill?
Yes, that is quite a good move. If we have a bill that regulates the terms to protect our depositors, it is very good for us. But I will believe that again, that if you have financial education, the financial literacy within the country is so low that people are easily coerced, people are easily convinced by certain petty promises that is made to them. These things have been with us. From the 1920s, somebody was involved in this, and we have always seen, not heard, we have seen of these things, but we have all fallen victim to them. Just because we believe that our financial literacy is too low within the country. So I believe that if we are able to, again, lift up our financial literacy, educate people more on finance, we would appreciate that there is a positive correlation between risk and return.
Right.
And if there's high risk, obviously we're expecting a high return. But if somebody comes to tell you that, oh, I have an investment with a very low risk and the risk is very high, 50-55%, my brother, you would obviously know that this is something which is of a Ponzi scheme and it's bound to fail. So I suggest again that we would add financial education to the depositors.
Right, Kamaldeen, we're grateful for your time. On News at 10, thanks very much. Kamaldeen is a financial analyst. He's joined us there. Let's now shift our attention to security. And I have on the telephone lines David Agbe, who is Executive Director of the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security, to talk to us about some of the security issues the President raised in the State of the Nation's address. Good evening, David. Right, David Agbe will be joining us very shortly to speak to us about security. We'll start from Parliament. But President John Dramani Mahama also spoke about the Western Gate of Parliament, which will be used as a police post for the safety and security of parliamentarians. We're going to have to explore whether this is enough security, whether this comes too early or too late in the scheme of things, considering the level of security threats that are available currently. Right, so let's see whether we have David on the telephone lines now. We don't have David on the telephone lines, but we'll be trying to raise him. Well, right, we're told that David is on the line. David, good evening, sir. Good evening, David.
Yes, right. Good evening, Pete.
Good. I want us to talk a little bit about security arrangements. The president spoke about first focusing on Parliament and the fact that he said that there will be some security arrangements to beef up security of for parliamentarians, including CCTVs in their homes and other places. But is this too late in the scheme of things?
Steve, thank you so much for the opportunity. I think that it is most appropriate that the nation, and for that matter, the president, has seen that there are a lot of security lapses as far as our parliament is concerned. And so his eyes is on the ball, trying to ensure that he puts in measures and systems such that our parliamentarians will have a very serene environment, have all kinds of protective security, issues in place, so that at least Parliament will be safe enough. All of us visiting Parliament and parliamentarians will have a very peaceful environment to actually work. So the president was quite, spot on.
But David, I'm asking whether this is not
the minister, the current, if I could say, appointed, or if I could use the word nominated. He also said during his vetting that, Parliament is supposed to be a place that they will try as much as possible to ensure that they protect parliamentarians. So if the president has also echoed that, then it means that they have plans to ensure that we have a very serene environment for parliamentarians. But Steve, I think that listen to the president.
David, just a minute, David. I asked the question whether you do not think that this is too late in the scheme of things. We understand the plan the president has in beefing our security, but this is against the fact that we have seen a lot of lawlessness, and the recent attack on an MP, actually he was stabbed to death. So I'm asking whether it's not too late, that this should have been done long ago before the State of the Nation's address, for the president to be outlining plans for that.
Yes, Steve, I do agree with you that it is too late. But then, normally when there is a crisis, that is where everybody wakes up to his line of duty and tries to identify the fact that we have a common responsibility to protect one another. And so it is too late, but then we need to also say that during crisis situations, leaders tend to wake up to their duty and they wake up to their obligation. So now that the president has said that, we expect him to deliver. It's so good. Security is number one thing that nobody should play with it. And so if the president has realized that this is the time that the nation has to provide enough security for our parliamentarian and for every citizen, it's a good one. We all have an equal obligation as far as security is concerned. Individually, personally, we need to protect ourselves, we need to protect our property, and so security should be a basic thing that every Ghanaian should not forget. Once you are struggling to put your systems, put every economic indicators in place, you shouldn't forget the element of security, because if you have a very serene environment, that is where you have a peace of mind to pursue your agenda. So it is good that the president is talking about that matter. And so let's say that it is good at this moment. We believe that it shouldn't be a political talk, it shouldn't be a political symbolism, but we want an implementation, we want an effective measure such that a year by now, we shouldn't be talking about all these kind of lapses, but we will see actions and implementation.
Right, David, thanks very much. David Agbe is Executive Director of the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security. He joined us there, and I will be shifting our attention to health issues, and we'll be focusing a little more on some of the key issues that the President raised in today's State of the Nation's address, including the fact that the President said that a technical committee has been set up to redesign the National Health Insurance Scheme. And he also said that in 2015, about 11.2 million people used the National Health Insurance. He also said that actually Ghanaians are living 14 years average life expectancy has increased by 14 years due to advancements that have been made in healthcare delivery and infrastructure. We would like to explore some of these more and then pan back to 2015, the comparison of the things he said there. For example, that he said that there are more than about 6,000 beds that are supposed to be added to hospitals and health centers by 2018. I mean, he said the same thing in 2015, by which he said that this 6,000 will be achieved by 2017. So we're not sure. We'll be asking the experts. We're expected to be joined on the telephone lines by Dr. Gabriel Benako, who is the chairman of the Coalition of NGOs on Health. He'll be joining us very shortly. But you're watching the news at 10. Let's see whether Dr. Gabriel Benako is on the line now. Good evening, sir. Right, we're still trying to reach Dr. Gabriel Benako. So let me run you through some of the key points of the President's State of the Nation's address today when it comes to health. I've already said that. He said that Ghanaians have life expectancy boosted by 14 years due to advancements made in healthcare delivery and all. But Dr. Gabriel Benako is on, so let's just quickly go back to him. Dr. Benako, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Now, let's look at the key issues that the president raises in the State of the Nation's address. I know that you are very keen on healthcare financing, and so last year when the president addressed the nation, he said that they've invested up to about 3 billion Ghana cedis into advancements in healthcare delivery. He cited 6,000 beds to be added to hospitals. He also made promises of construction of polyclinics in specific areas, some in the central region, 10 in the central region, 5 in Greater Accra, including Botiano, Ashaman, and other areas within Accra and central region. Now, let's quickly come to the issues he raised 2016. It does appear that he went back to the same issue, rhetoric. He narrated the fact that we will have 6,000 beds added and district hospitals constructed and all. Do you see any variation, or perhaps in terms of delivery, between 2015 and 2016 when it comes to health?
Yeah, thank you. I think we appreciate all the statements made by the President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, and we have taken note of the expansion and increase in investment into, especially the community-based health service planning, and then also some of the regional and district hospitals that are still under construction. That is very critical if we really want to strengthen our health system and really move from where we are. But we have raised concerns, and the concerns have still not been addressed. And we think that the President should use this opportunity, just like he has done it for the power sector. He should be able to address the health sector very critically. And if you notice, the Coalition of NGOs have always advocated for a committed and a strong leadership in the health sector. One, even though we are doing well in the national health insurance, the universal access to health coverage, we are no near, because we have been delaying in paying the service providers. And so we are weakening already our health systems.
So, Doc, let me come in. I appreciate the point you're making, but I need to also, just for the sake of our audience, ask you whether you feel that, I mean, you're raising key concerns with how some of these health promises are delivered, particularly you're mentioning health insurance there right now. The coverage has been increased, all right, but you want more to be done. But I'm asking whether you do not see that increase in the infrastructure is a starting point, that before we will do anything else, we need to get the infrastructure in place. Then we will move from the existing infrastructure to developing the actual healthcare and the quality that is provided. So one step before the other. Is it not commendable?
No, that before you even start drafting the plan to increase infrastructure, you already have another plan to decentralize and put in the human resource. And at the same time, you already knew that these are the number of people who will be receiving services. And therefore, you need to strengthen your national health insurance, and you need to capacitate the national health insurance to be able to respond to the interest, because civil society, we are doing a lot to create demand for national health insurance registration. We are creating demand for quality service, and we are also holding the various state agencies, Ministry of Health, Ghana Health Service, the National Health Insurance, to improve on quality. And so all these are happening simultaneously. What we now want to see is the strong leadership that can ensure that the Ministry of Finance really
the funds, the needed funds, and on time to achieve some of these things.
The system does not roll over, and the vicious cycle does not happen. Because once the vicious cycle of delay in paying the service providers continues, we will be weakening further the health insurance, the economy, because that is what is supposed to be growing. So the more we delay in paying, all the resources by this service provider, both the CHAC facilities, the government facility, and the private facility, they will all be stressed up, and that has been the major problem. So we expected the president to appreciate, just like he stated in the power issue that he has dealt with. He needed to show strategies on quickly how he's going to work with the Minister of Finance to stop the unnecessary delay in releasing funds to strengthen our national health insurance system. He's the best in Africa, and we have to be proud of that. But we need this kind of strong leadership supervision to ensure that we don't have unnecessary delay in paying the service provider.
Right, so Doc, talking about the national health insurance, let's shift our attention a bit to the president saying that a technical committee has been set up to redesign the national health insurance scheme. Is that what we need to do? Redesign the scheme?
No, it's actually waste of resources for redesign. We want to have very nice policies. We have all the administrative, all the government structures of the national health insurance. What we have now is okay. We do not need to allow technical committee to be wasting money in sitting down and all those things. What we need now is to ensure that the administrative power given to the national health insurance is strengthened. The financial resource that needed to go to national health insurance is strengthened. The technological support that government needs to give to national health insurance is put in place. Because once you do not put in place all this, why redesign it? For what? The best way is let's allow the financial resources to flow. The system will strengthen itself. It would migrate, and it will sustainably move from time to term, because that's naturally organization will grow from term to term, because there will be all indicators supported. That is what we are asking for. We do not think that committee by committee consistently, will solve the problem. The problem has been financed, that's all. And we need to really push the money into the system and allow the system to roll out. Then they will be correcting all the quality issues and increasing the coverage with very strict supervision of our national health insurance. One of the critical issues I wanted to talk about is the strengthening our health system to take charge of our emergency issues. You are aware of the meningococcal meningitis.
Yes, that's right.
I keep on saying that we have not handled it well as a country. And we think that this is the time the president also needs to put his foot down to ensure that the various agencies who are responsible to ensure that, one, we strengthen our health system to be able to respond to any other emergency, Ebola preparedness, meningococcal meningitis, accident issues. We need to strengthen and retrain and reorient our health system so that these emergencies are well taken. I know the government of Ghana know that WHO has certain guidelines when we talk about emergencies. Are we following it? Having recorded consistently increasing cases of meningitis.
Right.
Have we followed the guidelines? Have we declared in Ghana, are we in an epidemic, or we are yet? Government need to explain. Ghana Health, our Ministry of Health need to explain to Ghanaians whether we are within the WHO.
Right, Dr. Gabriel Menaku.
Or not. We need to do that.
Dr. Benako, we're grateful for your time on News at 10. Dr. Gabriel Benako is chairman of the National Coalition of NGOs on Health. Thanks very much for your views on the health aspects of the president's delivery today. My name is Stephen Enti and you're watching News at 10.